to the HerBusiness Podcast. I'm Susie Daphnis. I'm the CEO at HerBusiness. In this show, we help women grow and scale their businesses with timely information, inspiring interviews, practical tips, and bonus resources. And today, we are talking about money. Now, if you don't know, inside the HerBusiness Network, we give our members a monthly focus area with tons of free business training, worksheets, interviews, courses, and a whole lot more centered around a particular topic. And May is Money Month. Now, I know that not all our listeners are inside the network, so I thought it would be nice to bring some of those internal resources out to the wider community. Now, of course, if you want access to the good stuff, you can follow the link in the show notes to join the HerBusiness Network. Now, I'm really excited to get this episode started with you. We're going to be tackling some big topics today. So here's a heads up. You will want a notepad for this one. You can also download the 3 Money Metrics worksheet that I provided by heading to herbusiness.com/258. Now, I really recommend this option because it lets you visualize what I'm talking through today. But before we start, I want to say how amazed I am with the amount of vulnerability I see among women when it comes to the oh-so-scary topic of money. Because it's uncomfortable, many women don't want to talk about their cash flow, their income, their profits, their money goals, because there are so many emotions tied to money. And I've seen many comments, even within the HerBusiness Network, of women practicing vulnerability and opening up about the areas they struggle with when it comes to finances. Of course, that is a really safe space for them to do that because I'm there to support them. The rest of the HerBusiness Network community is there to support them. Now, I'm not going to share the individual comments they made, but what I'll say is that just about everyone is dealing with some sort of money-related problem. Sometimes it's not enough money, sometimes there's more money than they know what to do with, and that's created its own problems. Often, it can come down, though, to self-doubt and experience and not knowing where to look for sound, non-judgmental advice about what to do with your money. So if you're feeling some stress around money in your business right now and you're listening to this, try to remember that money does not equal your worth and that you're not alone in what you're going through. And it's very, very likely that there's thousands of other women who are feeling the exact same way. Anyway, I love to see how much the network is showing up for each other, supporting one another, and just being the awesome group that it is. Again, if you're not there, all that info is in the show notes. So today, we're going to cover the 3 money metrics that you need to know to get your money goals over the next 12 months and beyond. So you want to pull out that notepad or download that worksheet at herbusiness.com/258. You can even pull up your financial records if you like, because we're going to be tackling some really hands-on topics in this episode, and I want to optimize your money mindset before we do that. So if you know that you could have a better mindset about your money, but you're not sure where to start, I want to recommend an episode that we did a few weeks ago. It's episode 254, and it's called Your Next Money Move. I'm a big believer in uncovering and dealing with the underlying causes of a problem. So if your business isn't doing what it needs to be doing financially, or you feel like money isn't something you're comfortable honestly talking about, I encourage you to listen to that episode first. And in that Next Money Move episode, I explain why changing your mindset around money is the first and most important step to transforming your finances. And in that episode, you'll also learn to recognize the telltale signs that it's time to change those limited financial beliefs that might have been haunting you for a while, sometimes for way too long. And we go through a practical exercise to help you know your money mindset. It's a great episode, as I said, to listen alongside this one, and I will put a link to that in the show notes for you. So let's dive into why understanding money metrics matters to your business. Maybe you're a solopreneur. Maybe you're a micropreneur with a small team. Maybe you have a big team, including perhaps someone who handles your business's financials. In all cases, you also need to know your numbers and to develop a financial plan. Now, by understanding the money side of your business well, you'll develop increased awareness and clarity around decision making and become more confident and in control of your financial future. This is so important. And my guess is that many women have already tried this and maybe it hasn't worked. Because when you go to look at your financial records and try to make a plan, it can be overwhelming, especially if you're not a numbers person. And there are thousands of metrics to look at and no clear indication of which ones matter. But I'm going to give you some today. Because it can feel like you're grasping at straws, just deciding where to start. So how do you get a grip on your money metrics? My advice is also always to follow in the footsteps of other successful business owners. Successful people look at some very specific metrics in their business on a regular basis. Not thousands of metrics, a select few. These are the details that you can look at any point to know if you're on track or not. And just knowing what these metrics are will put you miles ahead of the majority of business owners who aren't doing this. Now, the first of these money metrics you're going to need to keep in mind is kind of the most obvious. It is the revenue and profit in your business. Now, you might say, duh, Susie, I know that. Just stick with me. I've been really surprised to see just how many business owners use these terms interchangeably as if they remotely mean the same thing, and they don't. The other thing I've found is that women don't necessarily have a money goal, a revenue goal, and a profit goal. Now, revenue and profit are definitely not the same thing. And it's not just knowing about the difference between the two, it's about focusing on the difference. Now, revenue is, of course, a crucial metric to keep an eye on in your business. But the allure of big sales numbers so often diverts our attention away from what we should really be looking at, what is really a sign of success, and that's the profit in your business. Now, we might aim for profitability, but then day-to-day decisions can quickly take our focus to revenue, sidelining the big picture of profit considerations. And your profit, what is your profit? It's what remains after all your operating expenses are subtracted from your revenue. And while it's easy to slip into just focusing on revenue, when you integrate profit into every business decision, that's what's going to bring around the lasting change that you're looking for. Profit is what makes your business sustainable year after year after year. So on your notepad or on the bonus worksheet, which once again you'll find at herbusiness.com/258, I want you to write down your ideal money numbers. There's two numbers that I invite you to write down. The first is your ideal revenue. And let's say over the next 12 months, what is your ideal revenue over the next 12 months? And then what is the ideal profit from that revenue? So those two numbers. So you want to jot those down wherever you're working right now. What is the revenue you want to generate? What is the profit? So that's going to be a percentage of the total revenue. So that's metric number one, is your money goals. The second metric that so few women look at, but it's key to getting your money goals, is your product and service mix. As you can probably guess, your product and service mix is the mix of products and services that you will sell to reach your money goal, to reach your revenue goal. Now, what that mix is going to differ depending on your industry. So let's say your business is a service-based business and it helps dentists up-level their practices, turning their businesses into something more sustainable. So let's say that is your business. You help dentists up-level their practices. Now, your product and service mix could include an online course that's $1,000, a 6-month group coaching program that's $3,000, and a 12-week consulting package for those who want to work one-on-one with you, and maybe that package is $20,000. So we've got something that's $1,000, something that's $3,000, something that's $20,000. And the higher the price, the higher the access to you. So those three things, the course, the group coaching, and the consulting package, that is your product mix. That is what you sell. Or say you have an e-commerce store and you're selling dozens of different types of things. So maybe you sell beads or earrings or skincare products, but you've got lots of things in your store. In that case, your product and service mix might include product groupings. For example, if you have the jewelry business, you might have jewelry and accessories, you might have earrings, necklaces, bags, and scarves as categories in your product and service mix. Stay with me. We're going to look at, well, how many of these do I need to sell in order to get my goal? But first, we're looking at what is it that I'm selling? And so you might have a business like Amanda. So Amanda is a strata lawyer. Her revenue streams include your strata property membership, the presentation she does for councils, and the money from her law practice. Whereas Fiona, who is a stylist, she has a business called Style Liberation. Her revenue streams include when she takes someone shopping, when she does a color consultation. She or one of her coaches does a color consultation. It could be her course. It could be the retreats she does with big name fashion labels around the country. So they're the things in her product mix. Right? So you want to just take a moment to write out, what are all the different things I sell right now, and just list them. That's why I said you're going to need a notepad for this session. So start with what you already sell. Then if you know that there's a product or service or a range of products, if you're an e-commerce or you're a manufacturing business that you're thinking about, and you know that you probably do need to introduce those to get your money goals, then you might want to add those to your notebook as well. So if I can imagine a left-hand column, you're listing one under the other the different products and services. Now, if you're working with a worksheet, it'll be really obvious where to put this information. There's a spot for it in the worksheet. And as I said, you'll find that link in the show notes. Now, as I'm saying product mix, sometimes I mean product and services. So just know that if I don't say the word services, you are still included. So write down the products and services on your notebook, and next to it, I want you to put the price of those products as best you can. Now, sometimes I know it depends, but what might be the average price for that particular service? And you want to have a price against it, because we're going to be doing some calculations. Because when we look at our product mix, we want to know how many of each product and service we need to sell to get our goals. And we get to determine this. So right now, you've got your money goals, that's your revenue and your profit goal. And hopefully by now, you've written down your product and service mix. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and pause, take a moment to do that, and then come on back. This is now where the third money metric comes in, and we call this your sales mix. We now need to determine how many of each of those products and services you need to sell, or those groupings of products you need to sell to reach your ultimate money goal. So for this, you want to look back to the first things you wrote down, the revenue and profit. So let's say your revenue goal is $500,000 and your profit goal is $150,000. To determine your sales mix, you want to play around with some numbers. So take a look at the product and service mix that you wrote down, all the things that you sell, and then have a look at how many of each of these might I need to sell in the next 12 months in order to get my revenue goal. Now, if you are the dentist business that I mentioned earlier, the consultant, you're not going to sell 100 of your $20,000 high ticket products. It's really unlikely. But what you might be able to do is sell 100 of your $1,000 courses. So you want to take the product or service that you're selling, the price point you wrote down, and then determine the quantity and do that calculation. And you'll be able to see quickly what percentage of your revenue is coming from what products or services. And you can manipulate that based on what you want your business to look like. So base your sales mix on your capacity and what you think is possible. So if we continue with the example of the dental practice coaching business, you might say, well, I want to do 100 courses, I want to do 5 high ticket consulting packages, I want to do this many online courses, right? Right? Going through your products and services, how many of each do you want to sell in the next 12 months to get your goals? Now, if you are listening to this podcast walking or driving, it's going to make sense to revisit this when you can actually do these calculations, or just keep listening, knowing that you're going to come back to it. So with this example, how might you get to that $500,000 revenue? You could sell 140 of your $1,000 courses, 20 of your coaching programs, 12 of your one consulting, and that might give you $140,000 from your courses, $120,000 from your 6-month program, $240,000 from your one-on-ones. Right, I'm spouting some different numbers here, but you see what I'm doing. I'm calculating the revenue from each product or service line in order to get to the total of the $500,000 revenue. Now, it's going to look different based on your industry. You want to obviously sell more of the things that take less of your time, less of your effort, and are most profitable. So go ahead and write these things down, and just pause here and write those things down if you need to. So few people do this exercise. And so what it means is that they might have a goal in mind for the year, but they don't actually have the reality of what it's going to take for them to make those sales in those quantities to get that number. because you want to look at those numbers and think, oh, are they achievable? Do you personally have the capacity or the want to deliver, for example, 12 one-on-one high-ticket consulting packages? Do you have time to follow through on that product? Can you deliver that many courses? Can you create that many new lines of jewelry, etc., etc.? Or maybe it would be easier for you to focus your marketing more heavily on one particular product or service because it is more profitable, it takes less time, you enjoy it more. And sometimes we can build a product and service range that actually works against us. We create things because they're a great idea at the time, we think they're going to fly, and then they take us way too long to deliver, or our lifestyle has changed and we don't want to do that anymore. So now might be a good time for you to reconsider what it is that you sell and look at, well, how much of each of these do I want to be selling in the new year? If you have an e-commerce store and you have a line of products and maybe you've sunk some thousands of dollars into getting that product into your store, but right now it's not selling and it's likely that you're just going to have to discount them and get them out of the way and maybe change your direction. These are the sorts of decisions you can only make by figuring out your sales mix. You're going to discover a few things, and maybe you'll realize, oh wow, it's almost impossible to get my revenue and profit goals with the mix I have right now. I need to sell something that's a much higher price point to make up the difference. And this exercise is a perfect jumping off point to see what's going right and what you might need to add or take away for your business to work. Even if there are tweaks or additions, you can see how the big mystery of achieving your money goals just became concrete with these 3 money metrics. And they were, again, number 1, having your money goals. Number 2, knowing what products and services you're going to sell to get those money goals. And then 3, knowing what quantities of each one you want to sell at what price point in order to reach your money goals. And using this method, you can simply break down your goals into doable chunks, really clearly defining how many of each product you need to sell to reach that number. It gives you a massive amount of power, of choice, focus, and control over how your business grows and which direction it's moving towards. And it's actually fun to calculate these numbers. Our members have had a great time doing this, just moving the numbers around. What if I did a few more of those? What if I cut this product or service out totally? It's illuminating. It brings your awareness to your business in a totally new way. And that's what I love to do with women, is have their awareness really grow, have them get really present to what is happening in their business. And this exercise, as you may have noticed, has you working backwards to your goals, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but it's the best way to approach any goal. You start with the end in mind, and then you forge the path to that goal backwards. Now, if your money goals are way beyond the 500,000 I mentioned earlier, I've got you covered. You might be looking at the worksheet thinking, well, what would this breakdown look like if the goal was 700,000 or 1 million or 2 million? And you'll start to see how powerful it is to think like this and have a way to break down the big, intimidating number goal into, okay, I just need to sell 100 of these, a couple of dozen of that, and a few of those, or I need to introduce this new service that I've been thinking about because that's what's going to kick me into that next level of revenue and profit. You get to control the overwhelm and chaos and give yourself very specific, achievable numbers to shoot for. Now, how do you get those numbers? How do you market the products and services? How do you grow your operation? That's exactly what we support women with inside the HerBusiness Network. Now, my business and life partner, PJ, and I, we've used these same 3 metrics to grow 5 multi-million-dollar businesses across 3 countries. Now, initially, we had a financial goal to be financially free by the time PJ was 40, and we achieved that goal, but we had to be really specific on what financial freedom really looked like. It couldn't just be a concept or some pipe dreams that we talked about sometimes, but that we didn't have any real way to bring into reality. We needed something specific, something concrete, something measurable. And we had our definition of what financially free was, and I'll share that with you. It was where our living costs and our daily expenses would be covered by the cash flow from our investments without us having to do further work. Essentially, it meant we were free to choose how we spent our time, knowing that our living expenses were covered. So we got very specific. We calculated what those living costs would be. We worked out what type and size of investments we'd need in place and what sort of cash flow those investments would need to be giving us. It was a scorecard, and we knew what winning looked like. We used these same metrics for our life goals. We started with a big number and then we worked backwards, knowing that our big long-term living our dream life number was determined by the metrics that would show us the way. We started with the goal end in mind, and that's what I'm inviting you to do as well. And then determine the metrics that define success for you, the metrics that say you did it, your goal is met, you have won, working all the way back to where you are today. Now, by using the 3 money metrics we talked about, you not only find yourself understanding and feeling in control of the direction of your business, but I bet you'll start thinking even bigger, just like PJ and I did. Because when you see your revenue and profit goals broken down into the individual products and services, you start thinking, well, I could easily sell a few more of those. And the numbers just start to go up. From an additional $100,000 more in the next financial year to seeing $1 million on the horizon, then 5 million and so on and so on. I'm sorry if you heard that bleep. I did turn everything off, but some things seem still to be ringing. But start where you are. The goal is to see progress for your business. Whatever is the right next revenue profit goal for you, whatever the right product mix and sales mix is for you, not your competitors, not the person next door, what it is for you. So many incredible women within the Her Business community have seen how this process works for themselves. In fact, we actually meet as a community every single quarter to review our numbers and how we're tracking towards our annual goals. This brings up a really important note that I want to add as we start to close out. Don't look at these numbers in your business once. In order to see real results, you have to hold yourself accountable and keep track of your progress. I really like 90-day cycles. I know that's what successful people do. That's what we do inside the Her Business Network. And as I said at the beginning of this episode, just knowing these 3 money metrics, you've set yourself ahead of the majority of women business owners. And as a woman in business, there are so many hurdles that we have to jump over and so many things to learn, but we should never let self-doubt or a lack of confidence around money ever hold us back. So even if what we spoke about today is new to you, know that you can learn strategies like these and to create a profitable, thriving business that is ideal for you. Like Nicole in our network, who brought on an astounding 60 new clients in the last 3 months, or Bridget, who is so close to filling her European Alps motorcycle tour adventure, or Sangeeta, who just signed up a client for a 12-month project, or Natalie, who just had a client take up her VIP package. We love to celebrate members getting their money goals, and we would love to celebrate you. So if you'd like to join us and start creating your big business goals, we have now made places available inside the Her Business Network, and you can join us by heading over to herbusinessnetwork.com today. Finally, over at herbusinessnetwork.com/258, you're going to find the summary of what we've covered in today's episode and a link to the 3 money metrics worksheet that we've been working through this whole time. I love doing this show for you. I appreciate you listening and sharing the show with your friends. I love it whenever I get a comment from you on what you enjoyed, what you implemented. If you have questions about your money metrics, please let me know. You can email me at podcast@herbusiness.com. Now, if you're new to the show and you're not subscribed, you want to go ahead and click the subscribe button wherever you are listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would do me a favor and head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating or review. It allows our show to be found by more and more women who need support like this, who need support to grow their business. Thank you so much for listening. Join me next time right here on the Her Business Podcast. Bye for now.